everybody. I hope you had a good lunch. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Denise Michelle, work as PYP coordinator at Uptown School in Murdoch, and this is Sarah Sakari. She's our leader of learning for mathematics and the grade 4 class teacher. And I just would like to thank organisers for inviting us to come and play with you. So, let's see, here's the technology. There we go. Just to give you an overview of the program. And Sarah.
Okay, so the aim of this session today is mainly to look at inquiry, because the aim is to put the students at the center of learning. We'll also be mentioning differentiation and assessment, because these are the key points for us to be planning for our lessons.
As an international baccalaureate world school teaching the primary years program, at the center of our teaching practice is inquiry and child-centered learning and constructivism. So it's really important for us to find out what the children already know, so that it can inform our planning and it can inform our teaching and learning. But that assessment process isn't just for us, it's for the children as well, because they're equal participants in what they are doing. We work really carefully in our curriculum design, ensuring that we have a very clear goal of what we're going for at the end of the process in our assessment. So we use Wiggins and Matai theory in Backwards by Design, very much in driving our preparation processes, as well as our assessment processes as well. Constructivist learning, as I said before, very much finding out what the child already knows and understands and building on that. And I think one of the dangers is, as teachers, sometimes we forget to actually check and we assume. So that's why assessment plays such a huge role in everything that we do. And hands-on learning for children to construct their understanding and meaning. Over to Sarah.
Okay, so just like Denise was saying about construction, and construction is not only for us to know where they have been and where to start, it's also for students to construct in order to understand the concepts we're teaching. A misconception that teachers sometimes have is that, like, I'm a grade 4 teacher, and that grade 4 students don't need to construct. They're grade 4s, they're 9 years old, they know it. Let's just move to application. Actually, all students need to construct. Even the high achievers need to construct. And even by the age of grade 5, 6, 7, and so on, if they don't construct, they can't understand the concept. So basically what we start with is construction. Can students construct? Do they understand what they're doing? I had a pre-assessment a couple of weeks back in grade 4, and they all knew the algorithm to addition, each and every single one of them. But then I asked them, why? Why is the one going up? Because there's no more space for it. Why? Because it doesn't fit down there. Why? So we had to get the base 10 blocks, and we had to see why the one doesn't fit down there. And this is part of them constructing, because if we teach the algorithm, what if they forget the algorithm? What happens then? But if they construct the knowledge, if they understand what they're doing, that's something that stays with them for life.
Right, so as I was going on before about assessment, in our planning and our curriculum model, we have 3 parts. We have the taught curriculum, which is our written curriculum. Sorry, I'm talking absolute nonsense. The written curriculum, which is what knowledge are we wanting the children to know, what skills. The taught curriculum, how are we going to be teaching it, and we use the model of inquiry. And then the assessed curriculum, how do we know that we've been successful in our process. So very much in everything that we do, as I've said earlier, is about assessment. Also within the IB program, we have the learner profile, which is really about our international mindedness, which isn't so much about knowing other places and other countries, but knowing your own personal culture, your own personal strengths and weaknesses, and how best you can take yourself forward in taking responsibility for your choice of attitude, your choice of behavior, and your choice of work ethic. So that assessment process isn't only going on do they know their timetables or their algorithms, but very much do they have that self-knowledge, and what goals are they setting for themselves as well in going forward in their learning. So the assessment really is key to everything that we do.
Okay, so for all of the concepts that we teach, we do a pre-assessment, a formative, and a summative. For the pre, we're trying to see where the students are at before we start planning and teaching. Now, students are very aware that the pre-assessment is for their own sake, and they know that I'm letting the teacher know what I know so that she gets an idea of how to teach me. And it's funny because in the pre-assessment, they all are proud that they don't know something, for them to show me that they now know it in the summative. The formative is ongoing, so you always get to see your students while they're doing the work, whether it's in the notebook, whether it's in the activities, anecdotal records, questioning them, why are you doing what you're doing? Can you explain what this is about? Now, the thing that we're doing for the past couple of years at Uptown, and it seems to be really helping, is that we're doing the same pre and summative assessment for concepts. So we give the students the paper to do the pre-assessment, and then when we take it, we highlight the mistakes. And then when we're doing the summative, they take the same piece of paper. One, they see what they didn't know at the beginning of the unit. Two, they get to reflect on their mistakes and understand what they didn't know and why they didn't know it, and they get to fix it. We normally ask them to use another pencil color, so if they wrote with pencil, they write with the red color, which is a pencil, but it helps them see the journey, and it helps them see that they have changed and that they have learned, and it's helping a lot with them reflecting. We're also using the feedback WWW and EBI on almost all of the tasks. What went well, that's WWW, and EBI, even better if. And initially we start doing it, but now the students know how to do it, and now they look at their work, they reflect, and they say what went well and even better if for themselves, and that helps them change. And normally the even better if is the next step. How can they go forward, and how can they extend the learning?
So we've had a lot of talk this morning about differentiation and the importance of it, using it in our teaching and how we go about it. But as a very multicultural room, and even in same country cultures and schools, there are so very many different variations of what differentiation actually means. For some it would be differentiating a task or outcome or activity in delivery. So I'm going to ask Sarah, because she's really an expert on it, to give us some more insight into what we think differentiation is about.
Okay, so for differentiation, it's basically, the aim is for us to challenge everyone, but still to give them the confidence. If we're challenging them and it's totally just beyond their level, then no learning is happening. A few misconceptions that we deal with differentiation is, one, if you're differentiating for your lower students, it's in two kinds. One, some students are not at the outcome, so you need to basically simplify the outcome and go down to their level. The other one is where they're at the outcome, but they need the manipulatives and they need still to construct. They're not past the construction, they still need to construct. A misconception for the higher ones is go big with numbers. It's not differentiation. If they know how to do it with smaller numbers, they know how to do it with bigger numbers. We need to go deep to make connections to real life. We need to challenge them. We need to ask them, so what and what if? And how do you know that this is what you're doing? So basically jumping to if you're teaching year 4, jumping to year 5 doesn't really help, because they're going to do it in year 5. The point is to challenge and to go deep. That leaves us with the middle ones, who are normally the hard ones to challenge, but we still need to keep in mind that we need to challenge all through, lower through higher ones.
Great, so it's not an easy task. All of this business that teachers are meant to be doing, they have to know all their children's individual strengths and weaknesses, they have to know their learning style, they have to have different outcomes, they have to prepare for this, they have to do so very much to do a good job. And it can be quite overwhelming, and it would be easier just to do nothing and to open the textbook on page 3. But no, that's not what we're going to be doing and going forward. For us, it's very much about working smart, collaborating, using each other's knowledge, using each other's strengths as a staff, and as well bringing the children on board. In some of the notes that you're going to be receiving, it's really important that you never work harder than your students. There's a book out there with that title. And that is so true, because if you're working harder, you're learning a really huge amount and really putting a lot of effort, but what are they doing? So for us, it's very much getting those students involved, being accountable and taking responsibility. So, over to Sarah.
Okay, so basically what we do is we plan together all the time. So we give each other ideas as a team, and we try to give each other even the material that we're using, because that sometimes is exhausting to plan for the whole thing. Pre-assessments basically drive everything. So we start planning after we've done the pre-assessment. After you've done that, you can put your groups. So your groups for measurement can be different than your groups for addition, because simply students are different in different concepts. And so your groups can change, they're flexible, they don't have to be the same, and your plan can change. So if you've planned for something Sunday to Thursday, by Monday it's not working, change it. It doesn't have to be the same. Ask colleagues for help, ask them what they think, and maybe apply changes if you need to.
So we thought we would bring our classrooms right here today and get you all involved. But obviously as adults, we've hopefully constructed your understanding of the concepts that we're looking at quite well. But what we wanted to do is to give you an experience of some of the activities that the children could experience. So on our tables, you'll find, I think there's 6 different kinds of activity, inquiries into number. There's some worksheets on the table for you to use. All of the material that we're using today, the activity worksheets, the handout, and everything else will be available on our website. So don't stress if you're not getting a copy of something. So what I would like you to encourage you to do, and even the people at the back, to come forward, join a table, do an activity, tootle on to the next one, have a look and see what's going on. So we're going to have about probably 10 minutes of just really giving you an opportunity to have a go at everything. What we could even do is just push all the chairs out to the outsides and really get dug in. There should be one of these little slips for everybody, because it's got the website on it as well. And it's in English and Arabic. So, attack. Sarah, do you want to explain what you're doing?
Now, I just wanted to say that normally these activities are what take place in our classes, and this is how we start the sessions after we've planned based on the pre-assessment needs. Students start by this before we even say anything, and you're going to see some photos of our kids inquiring at Uptown. After they've done this, and the beautiful part of it is that they do actually ask each other questions, and they correct each other, and they agree and they disagree, and they try to do it together, and they help each other, and they help each other construct the meaning. And then we pull the whole class together, and we talk about what we've learned and what the concept was about. And from then, some of your students are ready to move on to application, and some are not. They still need to construct. We just wanted to give you a sense of how kids inquire using this. Enjoy.
Right, do come forward and join in the fun.
This is looking for the plenty. Yeah. That's really
Because they see it. And that's not how to do it. That's why I have to draw it. But just try to take the string all around the shape and then measure it into the shape you That's what you're looking for? No. The 6.
Three full wavelengths and 10 lines. 9 about 90. Go around.
Once you've had enough of the activity, you're welcome to move on
So
to
you use
another.
that to make a rectangle size.
So you have to draw. First you keep all. Yeah, and then small ones you have to complete, but that you have to break with the ball. That because you remove, no? You will take 3 long 6 and 9 8
Lots of space at the timetable if someone would like to come and practice on it.
He finished the drawing.
Okay.
You've had enough? Give another one. Right, we have measurements and perimeter here in the front. You want to come and play?
Good job.
Very good. Let's get to that. What did we do? Seat, because our next part is let's talk. So, I saw lots of really good conversations going around, and Sarah for sharing her knowledge with lots of you, but I also want to give you an opportunity to pick your brain really thoroughly, and for you to also share your experiences as well. So, the floor is now. Sarah, do you want to finish up with anything?
I just wanted to mention one thing that I forgot to say earlier. We were talking about, like, we do have as many groups as we need in class, but normally we have the 4 groups in class that we set out the activities differentiated for these 4 different groups. But when you get to inquire like this, I mean, it depends on the activity and you know the bunch of kids that you have. But normally with such constructing meaning, it's good to put mixed ability pairs together, because then the higher ones pull the lower ones up, and then they hear the conversations happening. So to me, I find it pointless to put all of the low achievers inquiring on one activity, because often they don't get anywhere with that. So basically, if you just start with mixed ability groups and then set off the differentiated tasks after you've had the class group discussion, that often happens.
And then also today we've got different activities happening because we wanted to give you as broader experience as possible. But in the classroom situation, we would have different activities about perimeter, different activities about time. So that concept that we were focusing on would then have different variations of inquiries going on around the room for the children to be able to construct their meaning from. So this isn't an ideal classroom situation. This is just us giving you as many experiences as possible. So don't think you've got to have them jumping through all these hoops at the same time. So.
But what we do is we try to set different activities all around, because when we try to make students inquire, we want them to get exposed to everything and then just work deeper with each and every idea. So basically we have different tables set around, and you can ring a bell or anything or just clap or whatever, and then the group knows that they have to go around clockwise, anti-clockwise, any way that you like it to be. But normally they get to explore all of the activities in a bit more organized manner. We were just not expecting this many people.
Also, what's really nice too is then by using this kind of technique, you're able to have teacher focus groups as well. So yes, you've got your different activities going, but if you know in particular you want to work on with George, Simon and Susan on this particular element, you can call them to you and you can be working on that activity as a focus group while the others are still being accountable for completing others. A nice bit of reading that you can do, which is focusing on literacy more, but applies really well to maths as well as the Daily 5, which is encouraging that independence of responsibility, independence of learning within the students, and giving the teacher an opportunity to hone in either to extend those bright ones, which are so often forgotten, as well as your strugglers, and to maintain your middle group as well. And the children know how to keep track of where they've been and what they've been doing and how they've been doing it. So that's another bit of food for thought. So, any questions from the floor, or anybody got a really good idea they'd like to share with everybody else? Because our objective for this is for you to go away with some things in your toolkit that you can instantly do at home in your classrooms as well, or share with your colleagues. So, either a question or an idea.
Okay, I would just like to add to it. Like recently, I'm teaching grade.
Do you want to stand up so that they can
Oh,
all
sure,
hear
sure,
you?
sure.
So.
I'm teaching grade 10 radicals, surds, which is actually very difficult for them to understand. So after I taught them the basics, so I thought let's link it to cross-curricular, as Nafiza was also talking about it. So I linked, so I made flashcards, like just let's say there is 4 root 2 and there is the answer for it. So we made matching cards, but we related that to a story of Rumpelstiltskin. I'm sure you must have heard about it. So there was a blank card, answer, related one line, or the story was there, and they could read the whole story of Rumpelstiltskin. So this is what I did, one small activity. I thought I'd share it with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? There was a really good pie activity over there. Use your big teacher voice.
Yeah, about this this activity, which is talk how we find the perimeter and circumference of the circle. Many students in grade 6, they ask teacher, what is the meaning for pi and why it is equal 22/7 or 3.14? Mostly how we prove for a student in grade 6 about that, we brought 4 or 5 circles with different radius and we put it in the table. We ask them to find the circumference of this circle and to measure the radius, and they will divide. After they repeat this experiment for 4 or 5 times, they will find that every time they have number which is closer to 3.14. So by this way, we prove for them what is the meaning for pi and why it is constant, and we use it in circumference of the circle and area of the circle.
Which works on your bracelet, on your watch face,
Yeah.
on everything around.
Anything they can use which is looks like circle, and some students try to make big circle and they measure the radius to prove for me this is wrong. I brought with me meter and I asked them to divide. Wow, same as if I have circle with 5 millimeter. So by this way, finish. No question about what is pi and why it is equal to 3.14.
Anybody else with a fun activity to share? So hopefully the message coming through is give your children the experiences. Give them the opportunity to prove you wrong. You know, can they bring something in that's going to not say what you say it's going to say or what they found? Look at those variables. Give them those hands-on experiences. And yes, you do have a curriculum to get through. Yes, it is daunting to be able to do all of that. But your children will be doing so much better in your curriculum if they have constructed that knowledge and that key understanding. So then they can build all their abstract information, their grade 10, their grade 11 and 12 work will be so much more real for them instead of just formulas that they're learning. So that's what we're really wanting to get across.
And one more thing we wanted to say is try to end every lesson with a connection to real life. Because otherwise they have no idea why they're learning what they're learning. We were talking about factors and multiples in class, and then by the time we finished, I had a question for them. If Miss Ankari doesn't know her factors and multiples, how can she put you in groups? How does knowing my factors and multiples help me put you in groups and plan for my day? And that was like a huge argument between them, and they had to just sit and think about it. And then we got the counters, we put arrays, and we said, how many are we in class? 23. Can I put you in groups of 3? Can I put you in groups of 4? Can I put you in groups of 5? And then we discussed how one group is always different, and we went to 23 being a prime number, and that actually led us to a different concept. But basically, if I teach them factors and multiples and then they walk out of the door, that's it, done. But if they have a connection to real life and how to use it and why to use it, that's probably going to stay, and they're probably going to use it when they need it. If you don't tell them how it connects to real life, or actually dig and ask them to think of how it connects to real life, they're not going to remember what they learned.
And the importance that Sarah said also in our pre and summative assessments, that the children, our tests aren't a secret. Tests aren't a secret. Tests are for us to be able to gauge and test ourselves to see what we can and can't do and where is the evidence of this. So our test papers aren't a big secret. They're part of what we're aiming to do. So the children know how to pace themselves, they know how to be accountable for themselves. If this is the concept that they're going to be needing to know, they may not know the exact numbers, but they need to be able to know this understanding of the conceptual understanding or operation. They know how to gauge their work, and are they ready to do the test yet or not? For them to design a test that they could, or evidence that they could show that, look how well I know my tens and units and carrying over. How are you going to prove to me that you know and understand this with variables? You know, so really put it back into their place. And I think as an older teacher, that was really difficult for me to do at first, because when I started teaching, it was all about me, what I was going to teach them, what activities I was going to have them do, what I was going to do in class, and to move away from that and to say, well, what do they need? What do they need to understand? How am I going to get them there? So it's a bit of a mind shift for people of an age sometimes, but also for younger teachers. If our default setting is how we were taught, and if we were taught in a system that was very structured and not inquiry-based and not child-centered, we need to be able to recognize that default setting and set personal goals for ourselves to embrace just one thing a day or one thing a week to try that's new, that can become part of our personal default settings. Sarah, would you like to hit the button there? There we go. So, just to finish off, there are a few takeaways from this, which I hope you're going to be able to enjoy and use. We've got a Google site which has a copy of our presentation. There's a colourful book. I think there's a sample there, Sarah. This is some of the theory that we've used in basing our little exercise on today and on our daily practice. Looking at differentiated inquiry, looking at embracing diversity in our classes as well, equality and diversity, and just really things that you can use to reflect on your own practice and set some goals for yourself as well. We've got the little handout takeaway. If you don't get one, don't worry, it's on the site as well. But do write down the website if you didn't get a piece of paper. So a copy of our PowerPoint, copy of the booklet, copy of all the activities that you've done today as well. So those worksheet activity cards will also be available to you.
I'd just like to share 2 strategies that sometimes do help. It sometimes helps to put answer keys for the students as opposed to you checking the answers. For them to check the answers together, maybe in pairs, and try to see if the answers match. Why do they match? Why don't they match? And that leads to them giving feedback to each other, because it sometimes is better for them to get feedback from someone their age, and they're normally really nice to each other. They go amazing, well done. We do actually prompt them to try to say at least an even better if for their friend,
Be a
and
critical
it helps
friend.
for them to actually look at somebody else's work and learn how to reflect on somebody else's work. It's easier than reflecting on your own because you'd like to see it as perfect. So that sometimes helps.
Great.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our workshop. If I can ask you just to pack whatever you've got into the bag on your table so that we can pack up easy to take it back to the children, that would be great. But thank you very much for being a fantastic audience and getting involved. Thank you.
അല്ല ജോലിയാ ജോലി ഡിവിഷൻ്റെ
Yeah, I know, they're cool. Yeah, I was.
They like to play that game.
About this activity, mostly when it's been about vigilance strategies, we put pictures for learn and cipher. Yeah, to give them ideas. Learn and cipher, they both have the same strength, but this is learn and this is cipher. We put pictures for Sheikh Khalifa and another president for any country. Both will have the same meaning for them to understand what is the meaning for the country.
Thank you so much for sharing with us.